Paris. The Louvre Museum, 1889 autumn, had painted Paris in shades of gray. But beneath the Louvre, in its stone-walled basement, the seasons held their breath. Among crates filled with artifacts from the Ottoman Empire, there was one item that made even the most seasoned workers hesitate. It wasn't just old. It was sealed in pitch-black tar, cracked at the edges, carved with symmetrical symbols that didn't belong to any known script. And on its lid, faded and barely visible, was a warning: Shahmaran. Her eyes silence. Museum porter Marcel Duplantier was the one who brought it down to storage. He kept notes of every piece. The final line in his journal simply read, "Were her eyes actually open?" When the crate was unsealed, what lay inside was not fully human nor animal. The upper body resembled a woman, but below the waist, obsidian black serpent coils, and the face, eyes open. Dried, yet alive. Not just watching, judging, not asking, commanding. That night, Marcel worked alone that evening. By morning, he was found in the middle of the basement floor. The room was locked from the inside. No windows were broken, no signs of struggle. And yet, Marcel lay flat on his back. His face was frozen in terror. His own fingers had pressed deep into his throat. He hadn't screamed. He hadn't run. He had simply obeyed. But the detail no one could forget: his eyes. The irises were pure white, as if something had erased them from within. And from the corner of his lips, barely audible: "Forgive." The museum erased the crate from its records. That night, documents were burned. But one thing remained hidden: the being who watched with open eyes was still sealed in the dark. And later that night, a security guard was caught on a flickering camera, whispering, "I made eye contact, and I no longer need words." The silence of the Vatican, some things leave no record. It's not because they make no sound, but because their echo is louder than truth. Louvre? 3 days later, Marcel's death was quietly labeled a personal incident. But the museum staff knew better. No one wanted to go near the crate again. The Louvre administration sent a discreet letter to the Paris Archdiocese, a matter requiring spiritual intervention.
How?
The response came swiftly. That night, 2 men entered the museum in long black robes, carried no equipment, just a worn leather satchel and candles. They signed no names. Security footage? Missing? Not corrupted? Just gone? Under her eye, no one accompanied them to the basement. Only the night guard claimed to have witnessed it. They stood in front of the crate in silence. The candles didn't flicker. There was no wind. And when I blinked, I swear her eyes were already open. The next morning, the crate was removed. No official shipping record, no transport logs. Only 3 symbols drawn on its surface, 3 serpents coiled into one another, and in the center, a mouth with no tongue, only an eye. The journey from Paris, the crate was transported secretly to the Vatican. But one of the priests, escorting it, never made it to Rome. He was found in the train's restroom, seated upright. No wounds, no marks, no struggle. The conductor who discovered the body whispered, "It looked like someone told him to be quiet, ... forever." And he agreed. The Vatican forbidden archive, the crate, was stored deep beneath the apostolic archives. The librarians didn't see it.
Us!
The priests didn't speak. But one janitor swore he saw something inside. Those eyes, they don't just look at you. They erase you. And from that night onward, its name was never spoken again. It's not in the books, not in whispers, it's not in prayer. But what lay inside was still listening. The one who followed the eyes, some answers are never searched for, because those questions are already watching you. Present DAY Boston University Dr. Elif Nez-Karaka was a young academic focused on history and mythology. Her mother was American, her father Turkish. She specialized in ancient archetypes that trace back to Mesopotamia. Her thesis was titled "The Serpent Woman Archetype." From Medusa to Shahmaran, Elif loved getting lost in archives. But this time, what she found wasn't in any book. A collector from Istanbul had sent her pages from an old journal sold in secret. They were written in Ottoman Turkish, but scattered between the lines were Latin paragraphs. One sentence stood out: "Those who meet the eyes of Shahmaran do not silence with their tongue, but with their heart." Ella froze. That name had never appeared in any academic record. Shahmaran, yes, widely known. But Shahmaran, this wasn't a variant. It was something older, more original, more dangerous. The language of symbols. As Elif examined the pages, she began noticing recurring symbols. Snakes in spirals, faces without mouths, eyes drawn where tongues should be. One symbol shook her deeply, a mouth with no tongue. Just an eye, staring outward. It was identical to the one seen on the Vatican crate, though Elif didn't know that yet. Same shape, same formation, she murmured. But why is a Vatican symbol hidden in an Ottoman document? She started piecing it together. This entity wasn't bound to any single culture. Not Anatolian, not Western. It was beneath them all. Older than gods. Older than myth. Its name hadn't simply been forgotten. It had been erased deliberately. That night, Elif couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she drifted into dark water. No sound, no current. But something deep below was watching. Still silent, seeing you found me. The voice came not from lips, but from within her skull. Now learn silence. The archives that breathe some knowledge is not read, it is inhaled. And once it enters, it never leaves. Rome. Vatican City. Elif had never believed she'd get clearance. But her academic connections and dual citizenship opened a door. Not to heaven, but to the deepest archives below it. She wasn't allowed a phone, no camera, only a notebook, a pencil, and gloves. Inside, the apostolic archives were colder than she imagined. Not because of the stone walls, but because of something else. Presence. One that didn't move but watched. A page that shouldn't exist after hours of searching. A file caught her attention. No title. It's just a Vatican seal, cracked and faint. Inside were fragments of a report dated 1890, stamped with the words, "Object transferred, storage denied, witness silenced," and below that, a sketch. Elif's breath caught. It was the same figure she'd seen in the Ottoman journal, a mouth with no tongue, an eye staring from inside, a whisper in the stacks as she turned the page. Something shifted. Not the lights, not the air. Silence. It felt closer. Behind her, a shelf creaked. No one was there. But in the corner of her vision, she saw it. A reflection. Eyes. Open. She spun around. Nothing. Her heart raced. But she forced herself to keep reading. Her pencil shook as she scribbled one note. This symbol. It's not a metaphor. It sees. The eye marked back in her hotel that night. Elif removed her sweater in front of the mirror and paused. On the side of her neck, red, faint, an eye-shaped burn. No pain, no heat. Just a mark, as if something ancient had left its fingerprint, as if to say, now I see you too. When the eyes open again, some eyes don't just see, they sink into you. And some doors once opened, never close again. ROME. Hotel room Elif didn't try to hide the eye-shaped mark, because deep down, she knew, whatever this was, had already found her. She woke before dawn. The silence wasn't silent anymore. It was waiting. The walls felt unstable. The floor seemed to breathe. And in the mirror, when she looked into her reflection, she saw the eyes. Not in the room, in her. The stolen Vatican record Elif had secretly copied a fragment from the archive. Not just texts, but a video. Dated 1997, a dim Vatican prayer chamber. A priest knelt alone, whispering prayers. And from the corners of the walls, serpent-like spirals emerged, moving, breathing. The priest stopped praying. He stared, then slowly touched his throat, exactly like Marcel. Exactly like those who had seen her. The final page, the last page of the Ottoman journal, wasn't meant to be read. She existed before words. Before language was born, there was the gaze. And the gaze is a command without name. Elif closed her notebook, but the pages kept whispering. She wasn't in the archive anymore, but the archive was inside her. The eyes opened, she looked again into the mirror. And this time it wasn't just her reflection. Behind her, a shifting silhouette, black, silent, curling slowly, never retreating. The mark on her neck pulsed, then moved. And the symbol of an eye became an eye. It blinked, and opened. The closing elf didn't scream, didn't run. She simply stared back, because a whisper from inside her skull said, "Now you see with me. I am silent now, you must not speak." The video cut to black, but the eyes never closed. They're still watching.